Most chicken owners believe there's only one reliable way to keep their flock healthy and productive: buy another bag of commercial feed. Every trip to the feed store feels like a necessary expense, and for many backyard chicken keepers, it's simply accepted as part of the lifestyle. But what if some of the best feed for your chickens has been growing around you all along? What if the weeds you pull from your garden, the plants growing along your fence line, or the trees in your backyard could help reduce your feed bill while giving your flock a more natural and varied diet? The surprising truth is that chickens are natural foragers. Long before balanced feed pellets existed, they survived by scratching through fields, pecking at leaves, hunting insects, and eating seeds, fruits, and tender plants. Modern poultry farming has made feeding more convenient, but convenience has also caused many people to overlook free food sources that nature continues to provide every single season. Today, we're exploring 6 remarkable plants that can help reduce chicken feed costs, regrow again and again, and fit perfectly into a backyard farming or homesteading lifestyle. Some are considered weeds. Others are planted intentionally by experienced farmers who understand that healthy chickens thrive on dietary variety. One of these plants has become a favorite among seasoned homesteaders because it produces harvest after harvest with surprisingly little effort. If you've never heard of it before, you're certainly not alone. Before we get there, it's important to understand one thing. These plants are not meant to completely replace a balanced commercial ration, especially for laying hens that need consistent nutrition for reliable egg production. Instead, they work alongside quality feed by supplying fresh greens, important vitamins, valuable minerals, and natural enrichment that encourages chickens to behave the way nature intended. That means happier birds, more active flocks, and over time, noticeable savings on your overall feed bill. If you ever looked at rising feed prices and wondered if there was a smarter way to manage your flock, you're in the right place. By the end of this video, you'll have 6 practical options that can become permanent additions to your property, giving your chickens fresh forage year after year. Commercial feed remains one of the largest ongoing expenses in chicken farming, whether you're raising a handful of backyard hens or managing a larger layer farming operation. Every increase in grain prices eventually finds its way into the cost of feed, making poultry farming more expensive than many beginners expect. Even small increases each month add up over the course of a year. Many first-time chicken keepers are surprised to discover that feeding costs often exceed what they initially budgeted. The excitement of collecting fresh eggs every morning can quickly be overshadowed by frequent trips to purchase another bag of feed. While fresh eggs are rewarding, everyone appreciates finding practical ways to reduce expenses without compromising the health of their birds. Fortunately, experienced farmers have known for generations that chickens don't naturally limit themselves to grain. Watch a flock that's allowed to roam freely, and you'll notice they spend nearly every waking hour searching for something to eat. They scratch through leaves looking for insects, peck at tender shoots, nibble on young weeds, chase grasshoppers, investigate fallen fruit, and sample nearly every edible plant they encounter. This constant foraging isn't random. It's deeply rooted in their instincts. Chickens evolved to seek a wide variety of foods rather than relying on a single source of nutrition. Every patch of greenery represents another opportunity to find vitamins, minerals, protein, or moisture. When given access to diverse forage, chickens stay mentally stimulated because they're constantly exploring, scratching, and searching for hidden treats. This natural behavior also benefits the farmer. Every bite of fresh forage is one less bite of commercial feed consumed. While the savings from a single chicken might seem small, multiply that across an entire flock over months and years, and the difference becomes significant. That's one reason homesteading has experienced such a resurgence in recent years. More people are looking for ways to become self-sufficient, reduce ongoing costs, and work with nature rather than against it. Instead of viewing every weed as an enemy, experienced homesteaders often ask a different question. Can this plant feed my livestock? Sometimes the answer is yes. And sometimes the answer saves hundreds of dollars over time. One common misconception is that anything growing wild must be nutritionally worthless. In reality, many so-called weeds contain impressive amount of vitamins and minerals. Some have protein levels that surprise even agricultural researchers. Others produce fresh growth repeatedly after being harvested, making them renewable food sources throughout much of the growing season. Of course, Not every plant is safe for chickens. Certain ornamental plants and toxic weeds should always be kept away from poultry. Learning the difference between beneficial forage and harmful vegetation is an essential part of responsible animal science and modern farming. Once you understand which plants deserve a place in your yard, you'll begin seeing your property very differently. Instead of empty spaces, you'll notice opportunities. Instead of weeds, you'll recognize potential feed. Instead of relying entirely on purchased grain, you'll begin building a living system that produces fresh forage almost on its own. The first plant on today's list perfectly demonstrates this idea. Many gardeners grow it for one reason: compost. Herbal enthusiasts appreciate it for entirely different purposes. Yet surprisingly few backyard chicken keepers realize just how valuable it can be inside a poultry system. Meet comfrey. At first glance, comfrey doesn't look particularly impressive. Its large green leaves and clusters of bell-shaped flowers blend quietly into the landscape, rarely attracting much attention. But beneath the surface lies one of the reasons experienced growers treasure this remarkable plant. Comfrey develops incredibly deep roots that reach far below the surface of the soil, pulling nutrients from layers that many other plants simply cannot access. Those nutrients are then stored inside its large leaves, effectively bringing valuable minerals back to the surface where they become available to livestock. For chickens, that's good news. Those broad leaves contain useful nutrients that can complement a balanced diet while providing fresh green forage throughout much of the growing season. Perhaps even more impressive is how quickly comfrey regrows after being harvested. Many plants need weeks or months to recover after heavy cutting. Comfrey often responds by producing fresh leaves surprisingly quickly, allowing multiple harvests during the growing season when conditions are favorable. Imagine planting something once and harvesting from it again and again. That's exactly why many homesteaders consider it one of the hardest working plants on their property. Another advantage is its resilience. Once established, comfrey tolerates dry conditions better than many shallow-rooted plants because its roots extend deep into ground in search of moisture. That makes it especially useful during periods when rainfall becomes less predictable. Instead of worrying that every hot week will destroy your forage supply, comfrey often continues growing while other plants begin struggling. Its large leaves also make harvesting incredibly simple. Rather than collecting tiny stems or delicate shoots, you can quickly gather substantial amounts of leafy material in just a few minutes. Many poultry keepers simply chop the leaves into smaller pieces before offering them to their flock. Others mix chopped comfrey with additional greens, allowing chickens to enjoy a varied selection rather than a single forage source. That variety matters. Just as humans benefit from eating different fruits and vegetables, chickens also gain advantages from consuming a diverse range of natural foods alongside their primary ration. One mistake beginners sometimes make is assuming that if a plant is healthy, then more must automatically be better. Balance remains important. Fresh forage should supplement a complete diet, not replace it. Laying hens require carefully balanced nutrition to maintain consistent egg production, strong eggshells, and overall health. Think of plants like comfrey as valuable additions that enrich the menu rather than becoming an entire menu. There's another reason chickens enjoy foraging beyond nutrition. It keeps them busy. Bored chickens often develop unwanted behaviors, such as feather pecking, excessive squabbling, or destructive habits around the coop. Providing fresh plants encourages natural pecking and scratching behaviors that occupy their time in productive ways. In other words, you're not just feeding your flock. You're giving them something meaningful to do. That can make a noticeable difference, especially for backyard farming setups where chickens have limited space compared to large pastures. Even if your flock only has access to a modest run, bringing fresh forage into their environment creates new opportunities for exploration and enrichment. Over time, those simple routines contribute to healthier, more active birds. Comfrey also demonstrates an important principle that applies throughout this entire video. The goal isn't finding one magical plant that solves every feeding challenge. The goal is building diversity. Each plant contributes something slightly different. Some provide protein, some offer vitamins, others improve soil, attract beneficial insects, or continue producing fresh growth with almost no maintenance. When combined, They create a more resilient feeding system that works with nature instead of constantly relying on purchased inputs. And while comfrey is certainly impressive, the next plant might surprise you even more. In fact, many homeowners spend time and money trying to eliminate it every single year without realizing they're destroying one of the most nutritious free food sources available to chickens. Once you recognize it, you'll probably start seeing it almost everywhere. Most people don't celebrate finding this next plant in their garden. They grab a hoe, pull it out by the roots, and toss it into the compost pile without giving it a second thought. It's often labeled a nuisance, an unwanted weed that competes with vegetables and flowers. But to a flock of chickens, it's something entirely different. It's a fresh, nutritious snack that can grow with almost no effort from you. Once you learn to recognize it, you'll start wondering how many pounds of perfectly good forage you've thrown away over the years. The plant is purslane, and despite its humble reputation, it's one of the most valuable free food sources you can encourage around your property. Purslane thrives in places where many other plants struggle. It appears in garden beds, between paving stones, along driveways, around barns, and in neglected corners of the yard. While many weeds wilt under intense summer heat, purslane often continues growing vigorously, producing thick, fleshy stems and small, rounded leaves that hold moisture surprisingly well. That ability to tolerate dry conditions is one of the reasons it's so valuable for backyard farming and homesteading. During the hottest months of the year, when lush grasses begin turning brown and many leafy plants stop producing, purslane often keeps spreading across bare soil, quietly producing fresh forage at exactly the time your chickens need more variety in their diet. Its nutritional value is equally impressive. Purslane contains important vitamins, beneficial minerals, and natural antioxidants. Perhaps most famously, it's known for containing higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids than many people expect from a common garden plant. While chickens still require a balanced poultry ration for complete nutrition, adding safe, fresh greens like purslane introduces additional variety that supports their natural feeding instincts. Watch chickens discover a patch of purslane for the first time, and you'll quickly understand why experienced poultry keepers appreciate it. They'll peck eagerly at the succulent leaves, tug at the tender stems, and continue searching for every remaining piece. It's not unusual for a flock to clean up an entire patch remarkably quickly. Of course, that doesn't mean you should allow them unrestricted access to every plant you grow. Like any supplemental forage, moderation is important. A balanced approach ensures your chickens continue eating enough complete feed while benefiting from the additional nutrients and enrichment that fresh plants provide. One of the best things about purslane is that you don't necessarily have to plant it. In many regions, it appears naturally once the weather warms up. Instead of removing every patch, consider allowing a controlled area to grow where it won't interfere with your vegetable beds or landscaping. That way, you're turning something many people consider a problem into a renewable resource for your flock. This simple shift in perspective represents one of the biggest differences between traditional landscaping and practical homesteading. Instead of asking how to eliminate every wild plant, experienced homesteaders often ask how that plant might fit into the larger system. Can it feed chickens? Can it improve the soil? Can it attract pollinators? Can it reduce costs? Sometimes the answer to all four questions is yes. Another advantage of purslane is how easily it spreads under favorable conditions. A single healthy plant can produce thousands of tiny seeds, allowing new plants to emerge throughout the growing season. While that characteristic frustrates many gardeners, it works in your favor if your goal is producing free forage. There's also very little waste. If you harvest more than your chickens eat immediately, the remaining cuttings can often be composted, returning nutrients back into the soil. In a well-designed homesteading system, very little goes unused. As useful as purslane is, the next plant offers something completely different. Instead of growing low across the ground, it reaches toward the sky, providing shade, seasonal fruit, nutritious leaves, and one unexpected benefit that many chicken keepers don't discover until they watch their flock gather beneath it. If you ever walk to the countryside during summer, you've probably seen this tree without realizing how valuable it could be for poultry farming. The mulberry tree has quietly earned a reputation among experienced livestock owners as one of the most productive trees for small farms. At first, most people notice the fruit. Depending on the variety, mulberries ripen into clusters of deep purple, red, or nearly black berries that are naturally sweet and enjoyed by people, birds, and livestock alike. But the fruit is only part of the story. For chickens, a mulberry tree becomes an entire feeding station. As berries ripen, many naturally fall to the ground beneath the branches. Chickens quickly learn this pattern. They'll gather under the tree, scratching through the grass, searching for fallen fruit before it has a chance to spoil. Every ripe berry that drops becomes another free snack, requiring no harvesting from you. The leaves themselves also have value. While they may be best known as food for silkworms, mulberry leaves contain useful nutrients that make them another excellent source of supplemental forage for poultry when offered appropriately. Some homesteaders prune branches during the growing season, allowing leaves to be fed fresh or dry for later use. Then there's the shade. Anyone who's raised chickens during hot summer weather knows how important shade can be. Heat stress affects comfort, activity, and, in severe cases, even egg production. A mature mulberry tree creates a cooler environment where chickens naturally gather during the hottest hours of the day. Instead of standing in direct sunlight, they'll rest beneath the canopy while continuing to scratch for insects, berries, and fallen leaves. That combination of shelter and food makes the tree far more valuable than many first-time poultry keepers realize. Mulberry trees also fit beautifully into long-term farm planning. Once established, they can produce fruit for decades with relatively modest maintenance. Rather than planting annual crops every season, you're investing in a perennial food source that continues rewarding you year after year. This long-term thinking is what separates many successful homesteading projects from short-term gardening efforts. Instead of asking what can feed chickens this month, experienced farmers ask what will continue feeding chickens 5, 10, or even 20 years from now. Trees answer that question remarkably well. Another overlooked benefit involves wildlife. Mulberry trees attract insects, beneficial birds, and other small creatures that contribute to a healthy farm ecosystem. While you may occasionally lose a few berries to wild birds, those same birds often help control insect populations elsewhere on the property. It's a reminder that productive farms function as living systems where different species interact in ways that ultimately benefit the whole environment. If you're starting from scratch, patience is important. A young mulberry tree won't transform your feed bill overnight. Like any tree, it needs time to establish itself. But every year it grows stronger. Its harvest becomes larger, and its contribution to your flock increases. Think of it as planting for your future chickens as much as your current ones. There's another lesson hidden within the mulberry tree. Not every cost-saving solution produces immediate results. Some require patience, but the payoff often lasts much longer. That mindset becomes even more important as we move to the next plant, because unlike a tree that takes years to mature, this next option grows so rapidly that many people can barely keep up with harvesting it. In fact, it's so small that at first glance you might mistake it for nothing more than green specks floating on the surface of a pond. Yet appearances can be incredibly misleading. This tiny floating plant has attracted attention from researchers, sustainable farmers, and experienced poultry keepers because of one remarkable characteristic. Under the right conditions, it can multiply at an astonishing rate, covering the surface of still water with a dense green carpet in a surprisingly short period. The plant is duckweed. Despite its delicate appearance, duckweed has become one of the most talked about aquatic plants in sustainable agriculture. Each tiny frond floats effortlessly on calm water, absorbing nutrients directly from its surroundings while reproducing rapidly during warm weather. To someone unfamiliar with it, a pond covered in duckweed might seem neglected. To a knowledgeable homesteader, it can look like a living feed crop waiting to be harvested. One of the reasons duckweed receives so much attention in animal science is its nutritional profile. Under favorable growing conditions, it can contain significant amounts of protein along with other valuable nutrients. That makes it an interesting supplemental forage for poultry and other livestock when managed properly. Imagine stepping outside with a simple net, collecting a fresh harvest in just a few minutes, and offering it to your flock the same day. That's the kind of renewable system that appeals to people looking for practical ways to reduce dependence on purchased inputs. Growing duckweed doesn't require a large lake. Many homesteaders successfully maintain it in small ponds, lined water features, or specially designed containers with calm water and adequate nutrients. The key is maintaining suitable conditions while preventing contamination from harmful chemicals or pollutants. Clean water is essential because anything affecting the water quality may also affect the plants growing within it. Harvesting should also be done thoughtfully. Removing only a portion of the duckweed allows the remaining plants to continue reproducing, creating an ongoing cycle rather than exhausting the entire supply. It's a simple concept that reflects one of the core ideas behind sustainable farming. Don't harvest everything today if leaving some behind will produce even more tomorrow. That philosophy doesn't just apply to duckweed. It applies to nearly every successful homestead. And if you think these first 4 plants have already changed the way you look at feeding chickens, wait until you see what's coming next. The 5th plant isn't just another source of forage. Around the world, it's earned a reputation as one of nature's most nutrient-dense trees, and many experienced poultry keepers consider it one of the smartest additions they can make to a self-sufficient farm. The 5th plant on our list doesn't usually make headlines in the poultry world, yet among experienced homesteaders and sustainable farmers, it's often described as one of the most valuable trees you can grow. It thrives in hot climates, recovers quickly after pruning, and produces leaves packed with nutrients that have earned it the nickname of a miracle tree in many parts of the world. It's called Moringa. At first glance, Moringa may not seem particularly extraordinary. It's a slender tree with delicate branches and small green leaves that sway gently in the breeze. But don't let its appearance fool you. What makes this tree so remarkable isn't how it looks. It's what it continues producing year after year with relatively little maintenance. For anyone interested in backyard farming, poultry farming, or building a more self-sufficient homesteading lifestyle, Moringa represents something every farmer appreciates: consistent value. Unlike annual crops that need to be replanted each season, Moringa can continue producing fresh growth once it's established. Regular pruning actually encourages a tree to produce even more tender leaves, giving you multiple harvests throughout the year in suitable climates. Those leaves are where the real value lies. They're naturally rich in vitamins, minerals, and beneficial plant compounds that can become part of a varied supplemental diet for chickens. Offered alongside a balanced layer feed, fresh Moringa leaves give birds another opportunity to consume diverse natural forage, something their instincts encourage them to seek every day. Many new chicken keepers make the mistake of thinking that healthier birds always require more expensive supplements. In reality, nature already provides an incredible range of nutritious plants that can complement commercial feed. The goal isn't to spend more money. It's to make smarter use of the resources already available around you. Imagine walking into your backyard, trimming a few branches from a single tree, and immediately providing your flock with fresh greens. No trip to the store. No opening another feed bag. Just a renewable source of forage that's been quietly growing in the background. That simple routine becomes even more valuable over the course of a year. Small daily savings often become significant annual savings. And that's one of the biggest lessons experienced livestock owners learn over time. Success isn't usually built on one massive breakthrough. It's built on hundreds of small decisions that gradually reduce costs while improving efficiency. Moringa also performs well during periods when other plants begin slowing down. In warm regions, it continues producing fresh foliage even when some common vegetables struggle with heat. That reliability makes it an attractive addition to many modern farming systems, where resilience is just as important as productivity. Another advantage is flexibility. Some poultry keepers offer freshly harvested leaves directly to their flock. Others dry the leaves before crushing them into smaller pieces that can be mixed with regular feed. Drying also allows part of the harvest to be stored for later use, creating another layer of security during seasons when fresh forage becomes less available. Of course, no single plant should become the only source of supplemental nutrition. Variety remains one of the greatest strengths of natural feeding systems. Each plant contributes something different. One offers protein, another supplies minerals, another improves soil, another attracts insects that chickens enjoy hunting. Together, they create a healthier environment for both birds and the land itself. There's another reason Moringa deserves attention. It encourages long-term thinking. Every time you plant a perennial tree, instead of relying solely on purchased feed. You're investing in future harvests, months from now, and even years from now. That same tree can still be producing fresh leaves with minimal effort. It's the kind of investment that continues paying dividends long after the original planting day. But as impressive as Morina is, the final plant on today's list may offer the greatest overall value for people raising chickens on pasture, in backyards, or across small homesteads. It doesn't grow tall. It doesn't produce fruit. It doesn't attract attention. In fact, many people walk across it every single day without realizing they're stepping on one of the most useful forage plants available. White clover has quietly supported farms for generations. Its small white flowers may appear ordinary, but beneath the surface, this humble plant is constantly working in ways that benefit both your chickens and your land. One of its greatest strengths is persistence. Once established under suitable conditions, white clover spreads naturally, filling open spaces with dense green growth that tolerates regular grazing surprisingly well. Instead of disappearing after being pecked once or twice, it continues sending out new growth, allowing chickens to return again and again. That ability to recover makes it especially valuable in areas where birds spend a lot of time foraging. But white clover does something even more impressive. It helps improve the soil itself. Unlike many plants that simply consume nutrients, clover works together with beneficial soil bacteria to capture nitrogen from the atmosphere and return it to ground in a usable form. That natural process enriches the soil over time, helping nearby grasses and other plants grow more vigorously. In other words, white clover doesn't just feed chickens. It helps feed the pasture. Healthier pasture leads to healthier insects. Healthier insects provide additional natural protein for chickens. The result is a system where every part supports another. That's one reason experienced homesteaders often describe successful farming as working with nature rather than constantly trying to control it. White clover also attracts pollinators, such as bees, contributing to a healthier ecosystem across the property. More pollinators benefit fruit trees, vegetable gardens, and flowering plants, creating another layer of productivity that extends far beyond poultry alone. Then there's the question of maintenance. Many forage crops require frequent reseeding. White clover, once established in suitable conditions, often requires surprisingly little attention. With proper management, it continues spreading naturally, reducing the need for constant replanting. Imagine looking across your chicken run and seeing living forage instead of bare dirt. Instead of spending every season trying to restore damaged ground, your chickens have access to fresh greenery that keeps returning. That vision is exactly why so many people embracing homesteading choose to incorporate clover into their long-term plans. It's simple, it's dependable, and it keeps giving. Now, after exploring all 6 plants, a pattern begins to emerge. None of them promise miracles. None of them eliminate the need for quality poultry feed. And none of them instantly transform a struggling flock overnight. Instead, each one contributes to something much more valuable: resilience. When feed prices rise, you already have supplemental forage growing. When summer heat reduces grass growth, another plant continues thriving. When one harvest slows down, another is just beginning. Rather than depending on a single solution, you're creating a diverse system that becomes stronger because of its variety. That's exactly how nature works. Forests don't survive because they contain one species of plant. Healthy pastures don't rely on one type of grass. Natural ecosystems succeed because every species contributes something unique. Your chicken yard can follow that same principle. Whether you're raising 6 hens behind your house or managing a larger layer farming operation, every step toward greater diversity improves both sustainability and efficiency. Perhaps the biggest takeaway from today's video isn't simply learning 6 plant names. It's learning to see your property differently. The corner of your yard that once seemed empty could become a comfort patch. The so-called weed in your garden might actually be a person waiting to feed your flock. A young mulberry tree planted today could still be dropping fruit for chickens many years from now. A small pond might grow duckweed faster than you imagined. A morina tree could become a dependable source of fresh greens. A patch of white clover could quietly improve your soil while feeding your birds at the same time. Suddenly, your land isn't just where your chickens live. It becomes part of the feeding system itself. That shift in thinking is one of the most rewarding parts of sustainable agriculture. Instead of constantly asking, what do I need to buy next? You begin asking, what can I grow next? Those two questions lead to very different farms. And over time, they often lead to very different expenses. If you're just getting started, don't feel pressure to plant everything at once. Choose one. Learn how it grows in your climate. Watch how your chickens respond. Then add another, and another. Before long, you'll have created a living forage system that's far more productive than you ever expected. Every season will teach you something new. Every harvest will make you a better farmer. Every improvement, no matter how small, brings you one step closer to a healthier flock and a more self-sufficient homestead. That's what makes chicken farming so rewarding. There's always something new to learn. There's always another way to improve. And the best ideas are often the simplest ones. Now we'd love to hear from you. Which of these 6 plants are you most excited to grow? Have you already used any of them with your chickens? Share your experience in the comment below, because your ideas can help another member of our farming community save money and raise healthier birds. And if you found this video helpful, don't let it be the last thing you learn. Here on Herd and Harvest, we're building a community of backyard farmers, homesteaders, and livestock owners who want practical advice they can actually use. Every week, we dive into smarter poultry farming, better egg production, sustainable agriculture, modern farming techniques, livestock care, and proven homesteading strategies that help you spend less, produce more, and enjoy the farming life even more. So don't just watch and move on. Subscribe to Herd and Harvest right now. Turn on the notification bell and become part of a growing community that's learning how to raise stronger flocks, lower feed costs, and build more self-sufficient farms, one smart idea at a time. If you want your chickens to thrive and your farm to work harder for you instead of your wallet, Herd and Harvest is where your next breakthrough begins. We'll see you in the next video.